Hey! I know it's been a hot minute since my last video, but that has a reason. You might have guessed already by the thumbnail, I had another gigantic project planned. You probably know by now that I am a huge fan of vintage toys from the 80s and 90s. And therefore there's also a huge place in my heart for none other than Strawberry Shortcake. So today we will be making a redesign of Strawberry Shortcake, just as I did in my Polly Pocket video, but in the same fashion as said video, that won't be it. Because if I make a Strawberry Shortcake doll, she also kind of needs a fitting Strawberry Shortcake dollhouse, right? And in order to make things even harder for me, I will making most of the house and the furniture all by myself without 3D printing or anything like that. At least I'll try. This video is also a collab with Electric Bunny VT, who made Orange Blossom, so make sure to check out her video as well after mine. This is a Ginormous project, so I think we should get started by making the doll. Blue Pixie made a human version of my Laguna face skull combined with the body of Draculaura, so let's get her printed, shall we? I really love how the doll turned out. I actually printed her with 2 pairs of hands, so I can pick and choose the hands for her to my liking. I also really love how the human version of Laguna's faceplate looks like. So with the doll all assembled, you are probably curious what I have planned for her. I was mostly inspired by the 80s and 90s Strawberry Shortcake looks, because these are the ones that I grew up with. So I decided to give her some long, reddish, brown curly hair, a cute white, pink and red dress with some 3-dimensional strawberries and flowers on the skirt, and a little apron with a red ribbon. She will also wear some bloomers underneath the dress, and I also want to give her some cute stockings with red laced platform heels. She will also get a little basket and, of course, in homage to the original Strawberry Shortcake, her iconic Strawberry Shortcake hat. So it's a lot to do, and it's not the only thing that I'm gonna make in this video. So let's get started by making her wig. Building this Strawberry Shortcake dollhouse was a massive project with countless details to manage. That's where today's sponsor, Milanote, came to the rescue. You might remember Milanote from my Polly Pocket video. It's an essential tool in my creative process, and I'd love to show you how it works in this project. Here's my peek at the Milanote board for my dollhouse and the doll itself. I'm actually really proud how it turned out. Milanote is perfect for creatives of all kind, offering built-in templates for marketers, designers, writers, and more. I started this board by using a template that I loved, which made organizing all of my ideas a breeze. I created a board and, together with my team, gathered image references, wrote notes, and assembled a comprehensive collection of videos of dollhouse tours and collections. We set up a checklist to track our progress, making sure that every tiny detail was captured. From patterns and painting to wig making. Milanote kept everything organized and at our fingertips. Gathering all my reference images and videos in one place was essential for this project. Milanote made collaboration visual and intuitive, an absolute game changer for us. The variety of templates that they offer means there's something for every project type. Seeing the combined effort of me and my team on one board made the process seamless and enjoyable. Collaborating couldn't have been easier, as Milanote makes it easy to invite team members, share feedback, and leave comments. So if you are planning a project on your own, Milanote is a must-have. Streamline your workflow by keeping all of your references and discussions in one place. Sign up for Milanote through the link in my description box for a completely free account with no time limit. Thank you again, Milanote, for sponsoring this video, and now let's get right back into it. As you can see, I made her a wig cap off cam and marked some lines on it to make it easier for me during the gluing process. I harvested this really nice reddish brown hair from a wig and start gluing it from the back of her head, adding layer by layer until I reached the crown of her head. Afterwards, she looks like this, and I will now be adding her bangs by first gluing the side bangs of the wig with small wefts and then adding larger wefts for the middle of the bangs. To make the cutting easier, I clip the bangs out of the way and then carefully cut the bangs to the right length. To style them, I will be using some matte styling wax, or like the German name, Mattpaste. It makes the hair much more easy to tame and works really well, especially when you set it with some heat. Getting the hair cut neatly is a process, but we want those perfectly cut bangs in the end, and we'll need some patience for those. And then basically just add more layers to the bangs in the same fashion, gluing, cutting and styling, correcting and so on until I reach the very top of the head, where I will glue on some folded around wefts for a clean finish of the parting line. I also pressed them down with heat to make them look a little nicer, and then it was time to curl her hair. I used some Got2b hairspray and my curling wand and basically have to curl a bunch of thin strands one after the other. This took quite a while, so why not speed up the footage here a little bit. After curling the hair, the wig is done and I absolutely love how it looks like. Also, I think this is the first time I ever made a brown haired wig, except for my Sailor Jupiter doll that I made like an eternity ago. I do love this hair color though and really feel like painting her face now, so let's do that next. For a face up, I first added some sparkly shimmers all over it before going in with some cute blushing on her cheeks. If I feel like it, I add more sparkly shimmers to the face in between before blushing her lips with some vibrant pink pastel chalk dust. With the blushing of the face out of the way, I then take a brown pencil to sketch out the eyeliner. Brown is easier to erase in case of a mistake than black pencil, which is why I like to use that to sketch out the liner. I also use some brown pastel chalk dust to map out the eyebrows and use a kneaded eraser and an eraser pencil to shape them. After sealing the initial layer with Mr. Super Clear, I can go in with black acrylic paint and a small brush to line the eyeliner carefully. And while we're at the brushwork, I also give some single hairs. I wrote eyebrows. This will give her a more natural and cottagecore vibe, which is what I wanted to go for here. When satisfied with the eyebrows, I then can go to my favorite part, painting the lower lashes. This is a tricky thing, but once you get a hang of it, it's so therapeutic for some reason. I also add some white acrylic paint to paint her little teeth for the open mouth expression, and it wouldn't be Strawberry Shortcake if she didn't have some freckles, right? I carefully paint them with gouache paint and blend them in with a wet Q-tip or shape them with an X-Acto knife if they look too painted. The result looks really freaking cute, I think. Now I just shade in her lower lash line with pastel chalk dust, and before sealing her off a final time, I add iridescent sparkly shimmers to her cheeks. Why am I so burpy today? For the final touches, I am glossing her lips with 3 layers of Liquitex high gloss varnish and glue her some cute little lashes. For her eyes, I prepped the bases already and first paint them green with a fresh grass tone color. I then add a tiny drop of resin to the middle of the iris and place a small black rhinestone for the pupils in them. I cure that for a minute in my UV lamp and then add some more resin to the iris before sprinkling some fresh green glitter onto them. I distribute the glitter with a toothpick, cure the whole thing again, add another layer of resin to the eyes, and then add some small cute green stars as catch lights to the eyes. I cure it again and then add the final layer of resin to the eyes, creating a small little dome. After one final curing, they look like this and I really love how they turned out. Here's also the finished face, so let's use some editing magic to put eyes and face together. Wow, that was a good transition. And also she looks just so adorable, doesn't she? I think this natural and cute look really goes well with Strawberry Shortcake. Alright, with the face and hair all done, let's make her outfit, starting with the bloomers. To make the bloomers for Strawberry, I already cleaned up and added some lace to the bottom seams for a cute finish. Now I will attach an elastic ribbon to the back of the pattern pieces. Afterwards it looks like this, which means we can now pin together the front middle seam, finished sides in, and hem it. I iron it nice and flat and will now fold the upper seam inwards and will sew a tunnel where I can later thread an elastic ribbon through. To thread said elastic, I like to take 2 safety pins for easier threading and pull the elastic into the waistband. Now I can easily close the back seam of the bloomers and in the same fashion sew the rubber together with it. The only thing left now is to sew the crotch seam of the bloomers from one leg all the way to the other, turn them inside out, and we have some super cute bloomers. I know they won't be visible in the end, but they're super cute nonetheless, and they will give the skirt of the dress a little bit more volume so that it looks cuter and fuller. Speaking of said dress, how about we make that next? As you can see, I already cut the bodice piece from baby pink fabric, pinned this cute white lace onto it, and will sew it onto the front of the dress. I already prepped and cleaned up the little round collar of the dress and will now sew it on, finished side to unfinished side, fold it around, and if necessary, glue it in place. I now put the bodice piece aside to prep the sleeves. I want to give the dress puffy sleeves, so I pull a gathering thread into the bottom and upper seam first and gather the lower seam. I then take these small folded around strips and sew them on, finished sides in. Now I can gather the upper thread and make sure I have both sleeves at hand, and then take my bodice piece and slap those sleeves on, good sides in. The last step is just to close the sleeve and side seams by folding them inwards and hemming them. With the bodice of the dress done so far, let's make the skirt. First I will add this super cute lace to the skirt piece like this. I actually wasn't sure which transition to make here, so it looks like I was out of mana here. I then take this lace and will sew it to the bottom of the dress. Now, just as I did with the sleeves, I will pull a gathering thread into the skirt and can afterwards just take my bodice piece and sew it onto the dress, finished sides in, trying to distribute the ruffles evenly. And now I just need to close the back seam of the dress and totally forgot the transition here. Before we will bedazzle the dress, let's make her apron as well. I pinned the lace to the pattern piece of the apron here already, so I can sew it on. For the ribbons of the apron, I prepped a folded fabric strip and pin and sew it onto the apron piece first while it's folded open. I then went ahead and already ironed the strip in place, how it's supposed to look like in the end, and then just top stitched the white fabric strip to finish off the ribbon. For the bedazzling of the dress and apron, I 3D printed and painted these strawberry cabochons, and will also use some flower cabochons that I still had laying around. With my trusty glue, I glued them to the dress and tried to arrange them nicely. This honestly elevated the look of the dress so much. I love it. When it was all done, it looks like this, and I'm super happy with the result. I also made a tiny ribbon that I will add to the collar of the dress, and also decided to add tiny golden half beads to the center of the bodice as well. With that last step, the dress is done, and I am beyond happy how cute it looks. I think it fits strawberry shortcake just perfectly. To bedazzle the apron, I prepped a ribbon with another strawberry and glued it to the side of the apron to finish it off as well. It's a really simple but cute accessory, and it's a total homage to the original strawberry shortcake. And while talking about homages, another one will be her hat, so let's make that next. I first pinned together the brim pieces for the hat and will sew them good sides in. After sewing and ironing, it looks like this. I put that piece aside for now and take the headband of the hat and sew it together on the back seam. I also iron it neat and then take the brim piece and pin it to the headband good sides in before sewing it. It looks really good after sewing, so now I just need to make the crown of the hat, which is basically a big circle that I will first gather like this and then pin it to the other side of the headband good sides in before sewing it. I decided to also glue a ribbon with a little strawberry cabochon to the hat as well for a finishing touch, and I really love how the hat turned out. Now it's only her shoes and her bag left. I printed these heels for my doll and first needed to paint them red. Looking good. I prepped these tiny little 3D printed ribbons as well, and now just glue them to the shoes with Alleskleber. For the shoelaces, I will add tiny red ribbons to the shoes so I can lace these up on the doll leg later on. I maybe should have attached the ribbons after I glossed the shoes with UV resin, but hey, I made it work. I decided to go for UV resin because the finish is just so glossy and perfect. The shoes turned out absolutely beautiful nonetheless, and I think they will look really cute together with the outfit outfit in the end. For Strawberry's basket, I got this miniature basket in a dollar store and will first glue one layer of lace to the basket like this and then add a second layer to the top brim of it. I already prepped this tiny ribbon off cam and now just attach it to the basket with some glue as well. Of course, I had to finish it off with a strawberry cabochon, and the basket is just so cute, and it was so very easy to make as well. Yay! I of course made her some little stockings, and with this final step, the doll is finally done. You will need to wait until the very end of the video for the final reveal though. Alright, so the doll is done, but there's still so much to do. Because as I said, I want to build her a whole dollhouse. I came up with the idea that it would be super cute to make a half round dollhouse that is a little bit shaped like a strawberry, with cute little dormers on the roof, a bay window, and a little front garden area. I have made quite the plan to build this whole thing with Simopor, which is a hard foam plate, MDF, and wood, since it's gonna be really big. Papa Jewel was so kind to help building the base structure of this whole house, so I guess it's montage time. To make the facade look like some kind of frosting, I got this flexible modeling paste from Liquitex and will use a big spatula to try to give the house some kind of forbidden frosting look that also looks a little bit like stucco. It took a little while, but worked out pretty nicely. I also wanted to place the main door in a little entrance area, so I cut the door frames from styrofoam twice and glue both frames together with some hot glue. Afterwards, in the same fashion as the facade of the house, I will add some more modeling paste to the frame and also cover up any seam lines with that as well. The finished door frame looks so neat, and I can now glue it to the inside of the entrance area. The final facade looks so amazing and delicious and is now ready to paint as soon as it was dry. I will use this beautiful baby pink paint that I got mixed at the hardware store, and for an even application use a little roll to apply the paint. This took a hot minute, so let's speed up the process here a little bit. Okay, the facade is done, and so the next step will be to glue the wallpaper. I printed a strawberry design onto regular paper with a laser printer and will now use some Mod Podge and the so-called decoupage technique to apply the wallpaper to the walls. I apply the glue to the wall first, then rub on the wallpaper, cut off any excess and use a squeegee to really rub it on. And in the end, I apply some more glue on top of the wallpaper to really set in the paper to the wall. It's almost like gluing actual wallpaper. When done with the bottom floor walls, it looked like this, and I now wanted to add some paneling to the walls, so I take these hard foam strips and apply them to the wall with some wood glue. Alright, so the wallpaper is done, the white paneling is done, and the next step would be to make a wooden flooring. And I had the grand idea of making a beautiful wooden herringbone flooring for whatever reason. Where is it? So I got a bunch of these wooden tongue depressors, same. And my dad was already so kind and cut them to length for me. So how about we try that out now? structure of the house is done except the roof, which means we should probably make some windows to make it look actually like a house, right? I actually engineered the windows and built a little scaled down cardboard template of them, and it works pretty nicely. So I guess it's time to make them in the big picture now. I scaled up the windows to fit the window cutouts on the house and first cut out all the pieces with my laser cutter from 4mm wood. I also cut the window glass from 1mm acrylic sheets and can now first assemble the window frames. The window basically consists of 3 window frames and 1 window wing. The window frame with the wing inside is the middle piece, and I first glue the inner window frame on top of it and then add the outer window frame to the other side of the window. I let it dry and in the meantime cut out window frames from some cream colored matte vinyl, weed everything out, apply some transfer vinyl to them, and then take my acrylic sheets, peel off the protective film from one side, apply some soapy water to the glass and the peeled off vinyl, and then carefully place the acrylic glass on the sticky side of the vinyl. Gluing these things wet gives you a little bit more time to move the vinyl around because it won't stick immediately. When satisfied, I squeeze out the water with a felt squeegee and let it dry. I squeegee out the water. After a couple of hours, I can then peel off the transfer vinyl and also the protective film from the other side of the acrylic glass and have a beautiful glass window that I can now put onto the wooden window frame. For that, I simply use some Uhu glue and carefully glue the window glass on with the matte vinyl side up so that it looks like a wooden frame. And with the windows done, they're ready to be installed. Here you can see me installing the windows in the bay window of the house. The fit is really tight, which is great because that means I don't need to glue the windows at all, but they pretty much just click in. And even on the roundhouse, and even on the roundhouse, it worked pretty well. I went ahead and made the main door in a similar way as the windows, but just added some decorative frames on top of the door. However, the door won't be wooden colored, but pink, so I painted it with some leftover paint from my life-size Barbie dollhouse studio makeover. The painted door looks like this, and I went ahead and made the glass inlay in the same way as I did on the windows, and now just glue it onto the back of the door. Before we can install the door, I wanted to make the entrance area look like rocks, so I cut out a piece in the shape of the entrance area and cut a rocky pattern from paper with my laser cutter that I will now trace onto the cardboard. After that, I take some Sculpey oven baking clay and basically sculpt these little rocks by pushing small amounts of clay onto the cardboard, shaping them, and then adding structure to them with a toothbrush and some crumbled tin foil. I do that to the whole piece, and afterwards it looks like this and is ready to be baked. I put it into my little studio oven that I only use for crafting and let it simmer for 30 minutes. Sounds like Moonlight Jewel's cooking show. After baking, it looks like this, and I then use a little sponge applicator and some acrylic paint to give the rocks a rocky color. And also paint the gaps between the rocks in a concrete gray shade. To put the entrance area onto the house flooring, I use some wood glue and then press it on firmly. I also cut some wooden strips to cover up the gap on the bottom of the inside and to have a neat finish, and then just glue in the door with contact adhesive. So the base structure of the house is done, but the roof is still missing. I have no idea if it's going to work out with the roof, but we're gonna try. My dad's helping me, so fingers crossed. Icing on the little dormers, I will be using some foam clay and basically sculpt the icing around it. Since it's foam clay, it will stick to the EVA foam of the dormers and won't come apart anymore. I was hoping I could really make it look like icing, but I think it worked pretty nicely. I also made some roof tiles and strawberry seeds from EVA foam as well, and will now glue everything to the roof with contact adhesive, or as I like to say, toxic booger glue. Alright, so the roof is finally done, the icing is dry, and I applied some acrylic on the seams to hopefully make them as invisible as possible. And I already started painting it in a beautiful strawberry red, so how about we do that real quick, and then the roof should hopefully be done. Except for the leaves and the chimney. But we're gonna do that afterwards. To finish off the roof, I still wanted to make a little glass window. For that, I cut the design with my laser cutter from 3mm wood and also cut an acrylic glass on which I already glued on a translucent vinyl. I tape it to the glass like this and then take the shapes of the strawberries and leaves that I cut from colored vinyl sheets topped with double-faced tape, remove the vinyl of the tape and then carefully place it on top of the acrylic glass sheet. I then do the same with the leaf pieces and also add some small yellow flower details to the window. Then I just take the frame of the window, apply some glue to it and then glue it on top of the acrylic glass sheet. In the end, I simply use some contact adhesive to glue it to the window onto the back side of the roof. Alright, so the house itself is pretty much done, but of course we need some furniture to go into the house, right? I actually never built wooden dollhouse furniture myself ever before, so this will be an experience. So how about we start with the kitchen area? I first wanted to make a table, so I cut out all the necessary pieces from a file that I found on Etsy. I then first glue together the leg pieces like this until I have 4 of them. And then I take the lower table plate and glue all of the leg pieces into the slots of the corners of the plate. And afterwards, I simply have to glue the skirts in between the legs. Now I just add some more glue to the frame and apply the upper table plate to the table. The built together table looks like this, and I also went ahead and made a little chair. In the end, I just painted everything white and I really love how both pieces look. These are my first self-built doll furniture pieces and I'm very proud of them, but I was also now ready for a little bit of a more complicated piece, so let's make the kitchen counter. For the kitchen counter pieces, I first glued together 2 sheets for the side pieces to add some thickness to the walls for a more realistic look. As you can see, I attached one side piece to the back piece already and now just have to do the same to the other side. Until it's dry, I'd like to tape the seams so they stay in place. I also add one middle, top and bottom layer for more stability and then add the front piece to the counter. Looks already pretty good, so let's make the drawers. For those, I assemble these 5 pieces with some editing magic, and for the doors I will take these pieces and some small hinges that I first glue onto the doors before gluing the 2 decorative trims together and then adding them to the doors like this. I put in one door already to the counter and now glue in the other door in the same fashion and attach a little wooden strip on top of the hinges to hide them. I also made a second countertop for the sink area later on and now just paint this one in an ivory shade. The sink I 3D printed from a file that I found online and only need to spray paint it white now. And then I can insert it to the kitchen counter like this. Here's also the first counter we built, all painted, and I will now put the 2 pieces together and prepped a countertop from some thicker wood. For a more realistic finish, I decided to stain it, and luckily my dad had some ancient wood stain, I think from the 80s or so still. So I pour it into a glass and then apply the wood stain with a sponge applicator. I wipe off any excess and then just let it dry. In the end, I just need to apply some knobs that I printed and painted golden and also add a little golden faucet I printed alongside the knobs. By the way, I will link all the files that I purchased for this project in the description box below. The finished kitchen looks so gorgeous and I cannot wait to put it into the house later on. I love how good everything turned out despite the fact that I never really have built doll furniture like this before, but it was honestly so much fun. And it's not even over yet. Let's make Strawberry's bed next. For her bed, I cut out multiple pieces for the headboard and first glue together one frame to the back piece of the bed before adding a second different frame to it on top. I also cut out some ornamental decorations and simply glue them onto the headboard as well to add some more pizzazz. I also went ahead and made the foot of the bed in a similar fashion. Here you can see that I already built the bed box and now just need to glue it to the sockets on the headboard and foot. In the end, I simply painted the bed white and added some countryside cottagecore vibe bed sheets. I didn't film the process here because it's just sewn rectangles with stuffing, but it looks extremely cute nonetheless, I think. The lazy bed sheet is actually from a Barbie bed. To make the dresser for Strawberry's bedroom, I actually got help from my friend Nox from Rainstorm Creations, who sculpted my big Polly Pocket house and now made the templates for this dresser. They really saved me here because I was running so low on time with this project already, so thank you so much, Nox. As you can see, I'm basically just assembling the dresser in a similar fashion as the kitchen counter, but had it a bit easier because of the notches and slits. It felt almost like building a 3D puzzle or something like that. Even the doors were kind of similar. In the end, I decided to add some pearl-like wooden trim to the bottom of the dresser, and then my apprentice was so kind to paint the dresser in a light green for me. Now I also just add some knobs to the drawer of the dresser and the doors, and in the very end glue some acrylic glass sheets to the doors as well. I'm so super happy how the dresser turned out, and I want to thank Nox again for helping me out here with this one. For the living room of the house, I wanted to build a couch table, and for that I will first glue on an acrylic glass sheet to the frame of the table and then glue the bottom table plate to sandwich the glass sheet in between the pieces. I then just apply the little legs I already glued together, and in the end super glue a little decorative bottom element to the bottom of the legs. The very last thing was to add some decorative ornaments to the table like I did on the bed, and then I also decided to stain the table with the same wood stain I used on the kitchen countertop. With that piece, the living room is actually already done because I was able to get this super cute couch off of Kleinanzeigen, which is like German Craigslist, for just $5. What a great deal! The table fits perfectly though, and everything looks just so cozy. For the bathroom, I actually got the Polly Pocket bathroom printed again by my friend Frosty because bathroom furniture is hard to make with a laser cutter, and just paint everything pink this time. I also added the same faucets but painted them golden this time, and also printed a toilet paper stand and made a tiny toilet paper roll for it. In the end, I just wanted to add a bathroom mirror, so I cut an oval shape from wood, glue a frame on top of it, and another thinner decorative frame on top of that one. I then paint everything white with a finger snap and can then finally insert the mirror that I cut from an acrylic mirror sheet. And as always, we have fun with mirrors and cameras. Okay, so we are almost done with everything now, and the only thing missing is the ground plate for the garden area. So let's do that real quick before we get to the final decoration process. So the dollhouse is done, everything for the dollhouse is done and here, which means we can finally take all the furniture and decorations and put them into the dollhouse for the very first time and finish this enormous project. So let's do that. With the dollhouse built together, I can also assemble the doll completely for the very first time. And let me tell you guys, we are all not ready for this. Alright, so the doll is done, the dollhouse is done, and it feels so surreal to see everything come together. But I know you are probably super duper excited, so it's finally presentation time! is my gigantic strawberry shortcake dollhouse plus doll. I hope you enjoyed the process of this video as much as I did. And if you made it this far into the video, thank you so much for watching. As always, big shout out to all of my patrons. Your continuous support makes these projects possible, and I couldn't be more thankful for that. I really hope that you enjoy these redesigns of old vintage toys, because I'm having a blast. And I have already another one planned, so I hope you're looking forward to my next video. Okay, bye! Blomas. We make some blomas now. To make the blomas.